Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're back at it again. Time for part 2. Last episode we were on the first trial and we got through the first testimony. So yeah, let's just continue where we left off. And here we were. We're about to do a new testimony. The true culprit. Even if what I saw wasn't the precise moment the firearm was discharged, it's almost the same thing.
Yes!
No, it's not the same thing at all. For a start, I didn't fire that gun. We have a difference of opinion on that. The opinion of a uniformed officer versus that of a fledgling cadet. I don't think so. Consider this, defendant. Just a moment ago, I blinked. Did you? Did you see it? Did you see me blink? How could I? And yet, it is an undeniable fact that I did blink. So there you have it. Have what? Teen Shun. The sound of the firearm rang in my ears, and the very next moment, I saw you waving the gun at the Englishman. I think that says it all, don't you? Let's not forget that the antiques dealer witnessed the accused in this most incriminating position as well. Isn't that so, Korakuda-san? Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man, he was that young lad in black. I myself did see. Alright, now I want to go back. Is there no way to go back? Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man, he was that young lad in black. That much I did see.
Yes!
Yes, that may be true that I was holding the gun at that point in time. But I told you already, that's because I picked it up off the floor. Well, obviously, as the culprit, that's the only way you could explain it away. I had just finished drinking my coffee and I was about to leave the restaurant when I noticed a gun on the floor at Dr. Wilson's feet, so I picked it up. And exactly that moment, a gunshot rang in my ears. Full of events beyond our control, life is. Sorry, what do you mean? In your case, you found a pistol on the floor and picked it up, which precipitated this testing predicament. Whereas conversely, I failed to pick up the culprit from the floor and find myself in an equally testing predicament as a result. Anyway, the fact remains, myself, I did see you, with pistol in hand, standing over the foreigner. Furthermore, a visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present.
Yes!
You must have noticed someone else at Dr. Wilson's table. There was a lady there.
Attention!
As you have been at pains to point out time and again, I feel I'm growing a callus in my ear. And yet, no one else appears to have caught even a glimpse of this woman. Only Certainly there were more people dining there at the time, and someone else would have noticed her. Fortunately, it was already past 2 p.m. when it happened. Quiet time between lunch and dinner in any restaurant. I know. Of course the place was almost empty. It's what you'd expect. Certainly, 2 p.m. is neither here nor there in terms of time to eat. I wonder if there was a reason why the victim was eating at that time of day, and why he was alone. Yes, Your Excellency, there was indeed a reason. There was. This was found in the victim's jacket pocket. What is that, Counsel? It is a medical report card, Your Excellency. It would seem that the victim had an appointment at a clinic prior to visiting the restaurant. At a clinic. Yes, there would appear to be an entry for the date in question. 19th November, noon to past 1 p.m. The very day of the incident. Was the victim waiting for a late lunch following his appointment? The explanation couldn't be more simple. The prosecution felt no need to submit this evidence before, as it really has no bearing on this case. I wonder, what do you think, Renosuke? Well, it's hard to see how it could be related, really. Remember, you can request for it to be entered into the court record as evidence if you think it could be useful. Should I ask for Dr. Wilson's medical report card be submitted? Yeah, sure, why not?
Yes!
If I may, I'd like to ask for that medical report card to be submitted as evidence, Your Excellency. On what grounds? The court has already heard conclusive witness testimony. Additional evidence would be extraneous. Not to mention that the victim's movements prior to his arrival at the restaurant are of no concern.
Objection!
Whether or not they are concerned is up to us to decide. We have a right to explore all possible avenues. I beg your pardon. You have no authority to refuse a perfectly valid request for the submission of evidence. Very well. The court will grant the defense's request. Tisk. Youngsters these days are so forever asserting their rights. It's the most disturbing trend. Officer, kindly add the victim's medical report to the court record. Alright, so now we have this report. I wonder what we can do with it. What we need right now is new clues. We have to explore things from every possible angle, even if they don't seem relevant at first. Right, I hear you. You can conspire to prolong this trial as much as you like. It's the day after the festival already for you. Perhaps you've forgotten that these witness testimonies leave no room for doubt. Feel free to reiterate for the accused, Kurakuto-san. Indeed, alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself.
Yes!
So you actually saw that with your own eyes, did you? Victim, Dr. Wilson, dining alone? That I did. Forgive me for the position I place you in. So the testimonies of the old men, soldier, and the waiter all agree on that point. Isn't that interesting? And let us not forget the incontestable evidence we have to support the statements as well. As can clearly be seen, there's only a single beef steak on the victim's table. A meal for one. No. The antiques dealer, the sergeant, and the waiter who testified before. It's not impossible that they're all lying. But if so, then why? If I'm perfectly honest, I have absolutely no idea. Therefore, no one other than the black uniform cadet could have dispatched the Englishman. Over and out.
Yes!
Why aren't you telling the truth? What? What did you say, Cadet? I clearly remember. There was a woman sitting across the table from the professor. Perhaps one of you might not have noticed, but for both of you to have failed to see the professor's dining companion, it's just not possible. Fortunately for you, Defendant Naruhodo, it's not just a case of these two witnesses alone. Sorry? The waiter whose testimony the court heard earlier clearly stated the same thing. He also said that the victim was alone. That's right. Precisely. In other words, you are the sole proponent of this phantom lady. But if such a woman were indeed present at the scene, the prosecution demands to see proof. And if no such proof exists, the prosecution demands that there be no further mention of this phantom woman be made. It is a blatant waste of the court's time. There's nothing I can say to that. Excellent work, Reinosuke. We've gleaned some new information now. Oh yes, but I don't feel like it changes much. I can't see that it brings any real discrepancies to light. I wouldn't be so sure. Let me see that medical report card you got before. Oh, you mean this? Yes, this is a brand new piece of evidence. So perhaps we should examine it in a little bit more detail. How exactly? You notice that some pieces of evidence bear a magnifying glass. These are ones you may examine. Press space and you can take a closer look at the piece in question. Use up, down, left, right. To rotate the evidence in all directions and examine it from all angles. By using WASD, you can move the crosshairs around to hunt for clues that may have been missed before. If the crosshairs start to pulsate, press space to investigate further. So, partner, I think you should take a closer look at this medical report card. See if there isn't something new to be learned by examining it in more detail. Alright, I'll see what I can do. I'll need to use left, up, right, down, WASD, and space to inspect any areas of evidence that look suspicious. Something here. I don't want to. I can just click. That makes it easier. Let's see. Let's check this. Let's have a look. There's some kind of medical history. There's an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction of molar with topical anesthesia. Extraction of molar? You mean he had a tooth taken out? It would seem so. Just before the incident, he had a bad tooth removed. Perhaps they used laughing gas. That's the most modern practice in West for pain relief. Yes, I heard of this anesthesia. It's hard to believe there's anything that can actually stop you feeling pain. There's a cautionary note from the medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure until anesthetic effects have passed. Really? Sounds like information worth bearing in mind. Alright, so since he could only drink water, that means the steak didn't belong to him. Meaning that one particular statement totally changes. So I think it's time we listen to the testimony again, don't you? Definitely. Alright, so let's go to the part where he was eating steak. guess this one. I'm guessing that one. And time to present.
Yes!
Well, I think, what are you wittering, lad? Call yourself a lawyer? I wish I could, but first and foremost here, I'm the accused. Reinosuke. Everyone stumbles on their words occasionally. Under the circumstances, I wouldn't worry about it. Thanks, Kazuma. I could see it quite clear in the cross-examination you just carried out. When you raised your hand straight up like that, so purposefully, you knew exactly what it is you wanted to say. Don't feel like you have to choose your words carefully. Just say what you're thinking. Alright. And thanks for the advice. Kurakuda-san, this is a medical report belonging to the victim. I see, and I don't see. What of it, boy? Comparing what is written on this report card with your witness statement, something clearly doesn't add up.
Objection!
Dear me, have you forgotten my words so soon, you amateur? Sorry, what? You're not to interrupt court proceedings with your amateurish drivel. But let's see if I can explain in words you might understand. It was after 2 p.m. in the afternoon when the victim was murdered at the restaurant. Whatever he may or may have not done before that time is completely irrelevant. But that's, remember Inosuke, you don't have to use clever language or fancy words. Just make your point. Your Excellency, I believe we're finished here. There's surely no need to prolong this trial further. The witness testimonies the court has heard have been clear and concise. This medical report card has no bearing at the matter at all, if for that simple reason that there's no one else besides his pale-faced pupil who could have possibly, and we got cut out. This medical report card has nothing to do with the case? Do you really believe that? What? That outburst half petrified me, boy. Of course I believe it. How could it possibly be relevant? Perhaps because Hada Clinic, which issued the report card, is a dental clinic. A dental clinic? Is that supposed to mean something to me? Perhaps if I told you the victim that just had a tooth extracted? What's this now? And furthermore, I told you that as a result, the victim had been forbidden from eating. Just what are you trying to say, Cadet? He had orders not to eat, so what? It's all written up in here. No food or drink other than water for 3 hours post-procedure while anesthesia wears off. What? No, that can't. Kurakuda-san. What, boy, what? As you just heard, when he was killed, sometime shortly after 2 p.m., the victim couldn't have been eating anything at all. No. Additionally, there's more. You have assured the court with unwavering self-confidence that the victim was dining alone. But that cannot be possibly the case. Grr. Because the victim, as we now know, had just had his tooth extracted and was still experiencing the effects of the anesthesia. Expertly done, partner.
Objection!
What is this nonsense, you little upstart? These are baseless accusations. Just look at the photographic evidence. You can clearly see the plate of food at the victim's table.
Objection!
Use your head. That's the very discrepancy we're talking about. Can't you follow the logic? How dare you? I think it's fair to say that the tables in this restaurant case have turned. Won't you agree, Rinosuke? Yes, most definitely. So having just undergone some dental surgery, the victim was unable to eat, which leaves one basic crucial conundrum. Who, in fact, was eating the pictured beef steak? The court will hear the opinion of the defense on this new puzzle. I assume you're ready, counsel? Counsel? Oh, that means me, doesn't it? Alright, the answer to this question is going to be pivotal. This is the start of your turning this trial around. Show them what you're made of. Got it, so the person eating the steak at the victim's table must have been... I'm guessing... not any of these two, that doesn't make sense, so... an as yet unknown third party. Obviously, it can only have been someone else who was sitting at the professor's table. You will not let this go, will you? There is no such person.
Yes!
There was, because I saw her. When the incident occurred, we know that the victim couldn't have been eating anything. We have evidence of a hat-eaten steak on his table. Therefore, the only logical conclusion is that there is somebody else there eating it. There's strong evidence to support our assertion. It's clear that these witness testimonies are unreliable. If the court decides to push through a ruling at this stage, we will lodge a formal complaint with the Ministry of Justice and pursue a fair retrial relentlessly. Kazuma, are you insane? You would take on the government? Don't worry, counsel, I have no issue with you. What do you mean? I have issue with them, those two witnesses in the stand. What? What are you talking about? I have demonstrated with evidence that the victim was not alone. So if now it turns out the two of you deliberately lied when giving your testimonies, obviously you'll be charged with perjury. Perjury? And since this is a murder trial, you'll also be deemed complicit to the killing. Complicit in murder? No. The negative. There was no mention of this tactical meeting. I was just following orders. That's right, as the man says. Just say you never saw the gentlewoman. That's what they told us. Oh. What? What did you just say, Kurokura-san? No. Were you just following orders? Now hold on, lad, I was, say you never saw the gentlewoman? Yeah. You say gentlewoman, do you mean... you saw the victim with a lady from overseas? What?
Objection!
What is the meaning of all this? These witnesses gave false statements? Is this true, you pair? Just one simple slip of the tongue. Order. Counsel, explain what's going on here. It's painfully clear now. You try to prevent these witnesses from telling the truth. Absolutely not. The prosecution knows nothing of this. Then who's behind this? Who tried to make you keep your mouth shut? Well, that's classified. Aren't you prepared to be tried as a conspirator to this murder, are you? You wouldn't. This can't be happening. Ryunosuke. Judging from the way they're reacting to this, I'd say they were sworn to by silence by someone with considerable influence. However, I don't believe Hachi had any idea about it. What are you saying? I mean, to wield that kind of influence, there are only a handful of possibilities. It could only have been the government, the military, or the police, I suppose. Well, any ideas about who might be behind this? We can affirm we tried to silence the witnesses, then we can continue our pursuit. So we need to name whoever it was to try to make the witnesses keep their mouths shut. Of course, we'll need evidence before we make any firm accusations. The evidence that proves whoever it really was did wield his or her power here. But how? How can we possibly... Remember how we made progress before? We examined this piece of evidence in more detail and found a new clue as a result. Oh yes, that's right. Well, that's not the only piece of evidence we have, is it? We need to re-examine everything. Make sure there's nothing we've missed. There's no time to lose. I want answers. If it's proven that these witnesses have been manipulated, I assure you the penalty will be severe. Please, wait, Your Excellency. I had no idea about any of this. I swear to every Shinto god. I knew nothing. And what does the defense have to say about all of this, Well, Your Excellency, I got no time to think. I'm just gonna have to close my eyes and shout out the first thing that comes into my head. Besides the prosecution, the only person with the necessary influence to manipulate the witnesses... Alright, so it's obviously not these two. They're the one that's lying. Not the victim, it's not this guy. So it's either this one or the waiter. I'm gonna guess the waiter because this guy was helping us, so. Alright, let's just guess. The waiter.
Yes!
Well, surely that would be Satoru Hosonaga-san. Hosonaga-san? The waiter who took the stand earlier?
Objection!
Poppycock. What possible reason would the waiter have to make these witnesses give false testimony? Not to mention the fact that even a head waiter could not possibly have that level of influence. For once, I would agree with you. If that is, the men truly were a waiter. What? We truly were? Come on, Ryunosuke. Time to hit the court with the truth. The truth about Satoru Hosonaga-san's real identity, as proven by this evidence. Let's examine this. Damn, so it was actually an undercover agent or something? Look, do you see it says the witness's name here? Satoru Hosonaga. Well, yes, business cards do tend to show the person's name. That's sort of the point. It's not the name that's unexpected, it's his job title. His job? Oh. Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Inspector? What on earth? I have no idea. But let's face it, the police have a lot of power and influence. If they're wielding it somehow here... Alright, there we go. Now we can present this.
Yes!
The plan of the restaurant sketched by the man in question? I agree, it shows a great deal of attention to detail. I'm not sure we can conclude anything. Sorry, Your Excellency, it's the back of the card. It's the back of the card that's of interest. I beg your pardon? Or perhaps I should have said the front? Yes, it's the front of the back of the card. That's where the telling detail is. Would somebody please explain what this overexcited student is trying to say? Sonoga-san sketched the plan of the restaurant on the reverse side of his business card. The front of that business card reveals the man in question's profession, his true profession. The waiter's profession? That's surely... Good gracious! That's right, Your Excellency. The card reads, Chief Inspector, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. What? The waiter is a police detective? I haven't heard of any mention of this before. Why haven't I heard of any mention of this before? Imperial Police Bureau has immense power, absolute power as far as regular civilians are concerned. So, witnesses there in the stand? Was it in fact the waiter who gave you orders? Was it he who told you not to mention that you've seen the foreign gentlewoman at the scene? Well... Inspector Osanoga. I was worried that something like this may happen. The moment you asked me to submit my sketch as evidence, I realized it was a possibility. The court will take this plan and add it to the court record as evidence. Oh, well, is that a problem? Hand the plan to the court officer at once. Of course, here you are. Yes, I remember now. He did act strangely when the judge asked him to hand over his business card. I strive to carry out all the investigations flawlessly. It's my guiding principle. I let myself be distracted when I made that sketch. It was an unusually careless mistake. So you mean to say, you really are a detective? Why would a detective be working as a restaurant waiter? Ah, of course. Your salary must have... I was working undercover. Undercover? Yes, there have been a series of incidents at the restaurant recently. In order to investigate, I decided to get a job there as a waiter working undercover. Incidents at the restaurant? What kinds of incidents? That would be classified police information, which I am not at liberty to divulge. However, I can state categorically that they are unrelated to this case homicide. Very well then, Inspector Hosonaga, but you will elaborate on one point for the court. Of course, Your Excellency. We have just heard new information from the two witnesses beside you. At the time of the shooting, there was in fact another person present at the victim's table. If that is indeed true, clearly you would also have been aware of this person's presence, having served at the table in question. However, your testimony did not allude to this other diner, therefore I am led to assume, in your professional capacity as a police officer, you required these witnesses to be in agreement. Would that be correct? Correct, Your Excellency. Unbelievable. As I suspected. As soon as I heard the gunshot, I ran out of the kitchen to see what happened. The victim sat slumped in his chair. Beside him, gun in hand, stood the accused student. Sitting opposite at the victim at the same table was a young lady, whom I guessed to be an Englishwoman. So the truth comes out. I immediately sealed off the restaurant and reported the incident to the bureau. Eos and I received some special orders. Special orders, you mean to say? Remove the Englishwoman from the scene at once. It was made clear that the Englishwoman's presence at the restaurant was to be concealed. Those are my orders. But what if this Englishwoman was the killer? I think it would be in everyone's best interest not to pursue that idea. The Empire views the friendly terms of its relationship with Britain more highly than anything at the moment. An Englishman has been murdered on our soil. To name an Englishwoman as the primary suspect, well, without irrefutable evidence, that would be completely out of question. So that's the reason for the disappearance of the Phantom Woman in this case. But it's not right. One possibility does spring to mind. What do you mean, Kazuma? Yumei University is currently hosting a number of exchange students from Great Britain. I'm fairly certain that one of them, studying in the medical faculty's research laboratory, is a young Englishwoman. What? You're a shrewd man. I can see why you're the chosen candidate for the overseas study tour. You mean, when I removed the woman from the scene of the crime, I thought it would be prudent to check her identity first. Sure, then the court demands that you name the lady in question at once, Inspector. The Englishwoman sitting at the university professor's table was certain Miss Giselle Brett. She is indeed a foreign student studying in the research laboratory of Yumei University's medical facility. What is happening here? I admit that under orders from the police bureau, I erased all evidence of this lady's presence at the scene, and ordered these witnesses to make no mention of her in their testimonies. It must be how Your Excellency must be up to Your Excellency to decide how to deal with the situation. Very well, my thoughts on this matter are as follows. Thus far, the case presented to the court has been underpinned by a particularly critical premise, namely that the victim was dining alone. However, as we've now discovered that this premise is false, it would be a desecration of our justice system to ignore the truth and give a ruling at this point.
Objection!
But Your Excellency, that'd be missing the noon deadline of the ruling in order to send a telegraphic report to Great Britain. Our own government will surely be very displeased by such actions. Calm yourself, Counsel. I will not allow the government of our country or any other influence the proceedings of my courtroom. Inspector Asanoga. Yes, sir. You'll locate this Giselle Brett and escort her to the courtroom with the utmost urgency. At once, Your Excellency. But that means you'll be going against the special orders you were given from the police bureau. As I said before, it's my guiding principle to carry out all investigations flawlessly. So it won't be a problem? Nothing will get in my way. The court will adjourn briefly. Prosecution must call the English student Giselle Brett to the witness stand. Do I make myself clear? Yes. Your Excellency. a 30-minute recess before reconvening. Alright, let's save our game. Let's just save in a different slot to be safe. November 11:38 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature, Defendants, and Chambers 5. Excellent work, Ryanosuke. That was superb. My heart was in my mouth the entire time. It was almost unbelievable. I mean, looking at you in there. You were drenched in sweat, your eyes popping, your knees knocking, and you were grinding your teeth. It was a grim sight, but before I knew it, you started finding inconsistencies in the testimonies. I think you might have a natural talent for being a lawyer. Forget it, it's terrifying. If I get through this, I don't ever want to see the inside of a courtroom again. Anyway, it looks like we've exposed your phantom lady at last. Miss Giselle Brett, a student from Great Britain, is she? That's what I was trying to tell everyone from the start. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone. There was a young woman with him, like I've been saying all along. Yes, you have, haven't you? I might not be overly confident in the courtroom, but my powers of observation are one thing I am sure of. Yes, I can see that. So, about this young gentlewoman. Thanks to our detective friend, she was hastily escorted away from the scene, it seems. Did you see what happened with that? No, I didn't see any of it. I was just on my way out of the restaurant myself, then on the floor next to Dr. Wilson's table. I noticed there was a gun lying on the floor, and just after I bent down and picked it up, I didn't have time to think about where the sound of the gunshot had come from. The waiter ran over to me looking as white as a sheet, and he bundled me into some sort of small pantry next to the kitchen. Fast thinking by the detective, he apprehended the suspect without a moment's delay. Yes, and because I was shut in the pantry, I have no idea what happened outside in the dining area. Ah, there you are. Well done, both of you. Professor Mikotoba. Well, it seems I was right. The pair of you make an outstanding team. You've exceeded my expectations, I have to say. Yes, it seems you planned this from the start. You arranged things so I wouldn't be able to act as a lawyer in this trial. Our modern country is still in its infancy, our justice system even more so. Which is why I firmly believe that we need to send our brightest young stars overseas to learn all they can. I wanted to avoid a situation that may have resulted in your study tours of Great Britain being cancelled. Well, it makes no difference. Lawyer or otherwise, if I'm the kind of man who can't help his best friend avert the worst crisis in his life, I shouldn't waste everyone's time by going to study overseas anyway. What are you saying, Kazuma? So that's your stance. I was afraid you'd feel that way. Kazuma. Well then, it looks like it all comes down to you, young man. To me? Yes, you need to prove your innocence and uncover what really took place in that restaurant. I must say, I very much want to know the truth. After all, I have a personal connection to this case. Come to think of it, he said the same thing earlier this morning, didn't he? If you don't mind me asking, Professor, did you know the victim? Yes, I did. As you're probably aware, Dr. John H. Wilson was a visiting professor at UMA, and it was I who invited him. Oh, I see. I didn't know that before. Anyway, you're about to go into battle. The victim was a university professor from Great Britain, and a well-known one at that. Naturally, our government is looking to identify and punish the culprit as quickly as possible. But let's not forget who we're going up against. The gentlewoman whose involvement in our police bureau went to extraordinary lengths to hide. Yes, and I'm sure the prosecution will be using every tool at their disposal to quash your case. But I've no doubt that you pair will put up a good fight, right to the last. Best of luck. Thank you. Now then. I need you to run an errand at the university at once. There's something I think we may need. Of course. Good luck, Kazuma-sama. Defendant Naruhodo. Court recess is over. Please make your way back inside the courtroom at once. It's time. Let's get back to it, partner. Let's go on there and deal a decisive blow before those old fossils know what hit them. Kazuma? What? Thank you. Really? What for? Well, if you hadn't said you believed me, then I'm fairly sure I'd already have been found guilty by now. Look, I have faith in you. As a lawyer, and as a friend. Coming from you, that means a lot. If I'm found guilty in this trial, he's really going to give up on his dream of studying abroad. That's the kind of true friend he is. So this isn't just my battle anymore. Whoever we're up against, we absolutely cannot afford to lose. Alright then. I'll save the thank yous for after the trial. You can treat me to one of those sukiyaki meals I like from Yume Cafeteria on University Street. With an extra large portion, of course. 22nd November, 12:09 p.m. Supreme Court of Judicature, Courtroom 2. The court hereby resumes the trial of Rinosuke Naruhodo. Prosecutor Auchi, have you managed to subpoena the witness? Yes, Your Excellency, against all odds. And thanks to a certain young stripling, the prosecution is now under rather painful scrutiny from the government. Sorry. Let the government scrutinize. That's their job. It's nothing to worry about. It's highly unlikely that the good relations we've forged with Great Britain will emerge from this trial unscathed. But you still think it's nothing to worry about when the new treaty breaks down in our nation's founders? Again, terribly sorry. The friendship between our nations is really so fragile, and the treaty isn't worth the paper it's written on. You really have nothing to worry about, Rinosuke. What do you mean? A secret trial, anxiety over some foreign government's opinions, a bungled investigation, missing witnesses. Is this what our nation's justice system is? Is this Supreme Court of Japan or of England? Shut up, you jumped up rookie boy. You and your friend know nothing of the situation our nation finds itself in. By aligning ourselves with a great world power, we'll become strong. Diplomacy has never been more critical. Steady political maneuvering so it will secure our futures. I won't deny that I'm no expert, I'm just a student. And one could arguably study harder too. Standing here now in our Supreme Court, there's one thing that I feel very strongly. A country that fails to uphold the truth in its justice system is a country with no future at all. Well said, Rinosuke, despite the wide-eyed look of terror. You little brats! Thank you, Counsel. This court is the pinnacle of our nation's justice system, and exists solely for the pursuance of truth. With that in mind, this trial will now resume with the next witness taking the stand. The visiting student from Great Britain, Miss Giselle Brett. Yes. Your Excellency. Alright, here we go. So this is the new witness. Well, what a delight it is to welcome such a fine gentleman to Japan, and from such a distant land. You know, just before we continue, I've noticed, I feel like the instrument's changed. It's definitely more, like, classical, but, like, you can tell it's more British. I think that's a nice touch. Nice touch. Tea. Someone bring English tea. In England, no discussions take place without tea. Is that true? No idea. So, could we possibly trouble you to state your name and occupation for the court? Of course. My name is Satoru Osanaga. I've been working undercover as the head waiter at La Carnival. Yes, we know all about you already. Inspector Osonogo, what are your manners? In England, it's always ladies first. Is that true? No idea. More importantly, a little earlier today you said something to me. You said your powers of observation are one thing you're sure of. Ah yes, I think I did, didn't I? Okay, your description for this amazing sight was simply a woman. Sorry, Inosuke, but powers of observation aside, your powers of description are sorely lacking. I'm guilty. So, dear lady, once again, if we may trouble you for your name and occupation, please? Sorry, I don't speak cursive. I don't think anyone here does either. I'm terribly sorry, dear lady, but... what? The lady says her name is Giselle Brett. She comes from London, England. She's a visiting research student currently enrolled in UMA University's medical facility. Oh my, what a rare treat to hear the dulcet tones of the delightful language of the British people. I'm afraid I don't understand a word you say, but it was as beautiful as a hummingbird's song. As far as I can tell, the detective is translating her words faithfully enough. Yes, I agree. Ah, you obviously do fine in England, Kazuma. Their English doesn't rattle you at all, does it? Nor you. You've clearly been paying attention in your English classes, Ryunosuke. Court thanks the beautiful lady for taking the stand. Now, if we may trouble you to confirm something, Miss Barrett. 3 days ago, at a restaurant called La Carnival, a grim murder took place. The court has led to believe that you were dining there with the victim, Dr. Wilson, at the time. Is that correct? She says yes. This could take some time. So even though she's studying here in Japan, she can't speak any Japanese? She'd like to apologize for disappearing from the scene. She says that was due to make a presentation at the university, so she had to leave immediately. Interesting. And you're the one who engineered her escape. I was just following special orders from the borough. Well now, dear lady, would you be so kind as to cast your eyes over this photographic print? Seeing as you were so unfortunately present at the scene of the crime, could it be that your resplendent eyes caught sight of the wicked perpetrator, perhaps? Apparently, it was a very frightening and sorrowful sight. Do you mean to say... Yes, it would appear that the lady did witness the crime. Alright, well, guessing now we're gonna get into testimony. The very moment when the accused, standing right there in this courtroom, shot the victim in cold blood. Order. Order in the court. Did you hear that, Your Excellency? We have an absolutely conclusive witness statement. Well, looks like it's clear now. Clear who our real enemy is. Fortunately, I'll have to ask for you formally to testify, if you please. Kindly tell the court the exact nature of this frightening and sorrowful sight you described. I had arranged to meet for a slightly late luncheon with Dr. Wilson that day. The professor was unable to eat, so I ordered for myself only a beefsteak. After a while, the accused came over to greet the professor and they got into a fierce argument. Then not long afterwards, the accused took the professor's gun and shot him right before my eyes. I don't carry a gun myself, so obviously I couldn't have been the culprit. This is condemning testimony indeed. No, I didn't have any kind of argument with the professor at all.
Objection!
Quiet, you filthy wretch. Look at you, you black-hearted blackguard. Look at this snow-white angel. I'm sure even a dark-minded scoundrel like you can imagine whose word the court is going to believe. Ugh. You're still making the same mistakes, Rinosuke. You mustn't blurt out when you're goaded like that. That's a lesson you need to learn. Ugh, but he's so annoying. Of course, I was at the scene as well. I took statements from this lady and the two witnesses who testified before and reported back to the borough. It was decided that Miss Brett was not involved, so I let her go. The testimonies of the last two witnesses were completely worthless, however. Well, even so. On the day in question, the lady was wearing the same outfit as she is today. As you can see, there's nowhere about her person where she could conceal a firearm. I don't think she could hide a gun almost anywhere in that outfit if she wanted to. Unless and until the precise location where the witness to have hidden a weapon can be shown, this is moot. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. Those are the witness's own words on the matter. This is ridiculous. If only I was allowed to lift up her dress, I could prove it. Don't think about doing anything rash, Rinosuke. But I didn't fire the gun I picked up. There must have been another gun there that day. You're right about that, which means this lady was hiding a gun somewhere. Yes, that's what we have to prove now. To do so, you'll need to pull her testimony apart. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. Oh, yes, Your Excellency. Alright, here we go. Cross-examination. I had arranged to meet for a slightly late luncheon with Dr. Wilson that day.
Yes!
After 2 p.m. in fact. That's really quite a late lunch, isn't it?
Objection!
You don't keep up with the latest fashions from Britain, do you? Late luncheons are in vogue, isn't that right? No. Ugh. A decisive English no has quite a sting to it. The gentleman is currently working in the victim's research laboratory, it seems, so it was apparently a daily occurrence that they would have lunch together. On the day in question, the victim had another appointment at the clinic first. Yes, which we can prove from the medical report card that was submitted as evidence earlier. That's right. Miss Brett and the victim went to lunch following the victim's treatment, which is why it was so late. Yes, that all makes perfect sense. Such wonderful logic. What a shining example of English intelligence this fine gentleman is. So you both arrived at the restaurant. What happened next? The professor was then able to eat, so I ordered for myself only, a beef steak.
Yes!
He was unable to eat, you say? And that was because he just had a tooth removed at Haunted Clinic, correct? That's right. You're supposed to actually check with the witness before answering? Was Miss Brett aware of that fact? It seems so, yes. She told her that the professor was to have some dental treatment. So that would mean that it was you who ate the steak pictured here. Is that right, Miss Brett? That's right, yes. The print you have there shows the table exactly as it was left after the horrifying events. Exactly as it was left? Dear me, what a harrowing experience. To have traveled to a distant island on the far side of the world, then be embroiled in such a tragic incident. Have no fear, my dear lady. I will swear I will crush the evil fiend that has subjected you to this terrible plight. So the victim, Dr. Wilson, had nothing to eat or drink at all? That's right, other than some carbonated water. Just water? Yes, the professor was unable to eat, but he had given permission to drink water. So it appears that diners toasted their lunch with a glass of water each. They each raised a glass of carbonated water. What do you think, Reinosuke, of the witness's last statement? I think... Well, I remember, if we check the court record, so they say that this image, crime scene photograph, you can say that there's only one glass. So obviously that means, yeah, I think that there's a contradiction. That last statement of yours, Miss Brett, has profound bearing on this case. Well, how fascinating. Do tell us, what's this profound bearing, The significance of the statement will become apparent when the time is right. The defense calls for the witness's last statement to be formally added to the testimony. Well sidestepped, counsel. Very well, Miss Brett. Kindly repeat what you just said to be added to your official testimony. Gladly, she said. That was brilliant, Kazuma. I'm going to remember that one. Which one? The significance will become apparent when the time is right. I could really use that phrase. I'd hope there are some more useful tips you're picking up from this experience than that, Inosuke. I ordered a beefsteak for myself, and the presser and I said cheers over a glass of carbonated water. Alright, I don't think we have to press anything, let's just present this. I just want to check this, actually. Yeah, you can also see in that one it's only one glass. So yeah, let's just present this. Alright, present.
Yes!
That's it! Let me just confirm something, please. It's the dude, this photographic print. Just a short while ago, you spoke of this print showing the victim's table at the crime scene. That it was exactly as it was left? That is correct, the lady says. Well, it's odd. Very odd. Dear me. What's odd is the defense's inability to express itself. Ugh. Rinosuke, what is about the print that looks odd to you? Well, obviously, it's the cheers. The cheers? Miss Brett just told us that she and the professor said cheers over a glass of water. But if that's true, there should be 2 glasses on the table, not 1. Ah. You're quite right, Counsel. There's only 1 glass pictured here.
Objection!
Are we supposed to be impressed by this nitpicking over a minute? I don't even know what that word is. What possible differences that the presence or absence of a glass make on this case?
Objection!
Minute 2, you say? Could it be that the detective here moved the glass from the table to conceal the lady's presence? Of course not. They would never do something so reckless. But there should have been 2 glasses on the table. Or are you going to try and tell me you can clink with only 1? You're quite right. I certainly took 2 glasses to the table. Inspector, what did the lady say? It would seem that it was Miss Brett who took the glass from the table. What? It was all so terrifying, everything had happened. I panicked and thought I should try to hide the fact I'd been there at all, she sang. Good gracious. Sorry. There, as I should have court before, there's no consequence at all. Oh, please. You must remember that this student had just murdered this lady's luncheon companion before our very eyes. Who could blame her for concealing a glass or 2 in her state of disarray? That's absurd. Oh, really? So we take it that you're going to accuse the vulnerable young and beautiful woman of mischief? What? No. This can't be put down to mischief. I'd like to know exactly how the lady took the glass from the scene. Ah, I see. I'm betting from this we're gonna find out where she hid it, and then we can play and say that where the gun was. It would seem that she slipped it into a small handbag she was carrying. A handbag, you say? Yes, Your Excellency, a small handheld pouch commonly carried well-to-do England. So the beautiful lady has very graciously explained how and why she removed the glass from the scene now. However, the fact remains that this glass has absolutely no bearing on the case. This student has been trying to confuse the court with logical reasoning, but in the end it comes to nothing. No more pretentious accusations. You have wasted enough time already. Indeed, the lady has offered a satisfactory explanation as to why she removed this glass. I think henceforth we can consider the matter to have no bearing on the case. Counsel for the defense, are you in agreement? Well, I don't know, really. If you want to pursue this matter further, you're going to need to show that it was some deeper you're going to need to show that it has some deeper significance. Yes, you're right. So she took the glass away in her handbag. There's a deeper significance. It's, well, the handbag. Wait, the lady put the glass in her handbag, you say? Yes, do try to keep up. It's already been explained to the court that all English gentlewomen carry handbags for small items. Let me see. A little while ago, Miss Brett stated the following. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. But, if she forgot to mention, was her handbag, in which would be perfectly possible to conceal a gun. You're right. Well done, partner. I had a feeling you'd pick up on that too. What are you insinuating, you vile blackguard? It's really very simple. The gunshot was heard when the defendant picked up the gun from the restaurant floor. As he didn't fire that gun, we can deduce there must have been another firearm at the scene. The true murder weapon, if you will. You can't seriously be suggesting. Inspector Osanoga. Yes? Did you or did you not search Mr. Gilbrett's handbag on the day of the murder? No, sir, I did not. As I thought. In other words, another gun, the one that was actually used to kill the professor, could have been hidden in Miss Brett's handbag. No! Order, order, order! What is the meaning of this, Inspector? The meaning of what, Prosecutor Ouchie? Why on earth did you not have the lady open her handbag and show you the contents at the time? Thanks to your bungling incompetence, now she has to endure these uncomfortable accusations. Brilliant work, partner. Now we have a chance to expose the real woman behind the mask. Do you think so, Kazuma? Well, what a sorry situation. Clearly, you have no faith in the police. As I said, I did not search the lady's handbag after the shooting, simply because it was unnecessary. Unnecessary in what way? I had to thank the student lawyer, really. I have a piece of evidence here that I'd completely forgotten about. This photographic print. This print is a photograph that I thought would be prudent to take immediately after the shooting. Alright, so obviously you're going to say that the bag is see-through. What I think we're going to have to point out is there's something on the wrist. I have no idea what that is. As you can clearly see, it shows Miss Brett's handbag. Well, I never. You can see right through to what's inside. That's right. Apparently, meshwork bags like these are at the height of fashion in London at the moment. So the contents are clearly visible. Exactly. There was no need to search the lady's handbag. If there had been a gun inside, it would have been immediately obvious. Ah! As you can see, there's nothing to imply Miss Brett's guilt here. Thank you for helping to prove that, Naruto-san. What? Order! Order! Inspector Osanoga, you will submit that print as evidence at once. Certainly, Your Excellency. The photograph of the handbag has been entered into the court record. I think you've had long enough to cross-examine the witness counsel. The court has now been shown considerable evidence. As the photographic print just submitted to the court appears to have no further significance, I am satisfied that there is no longer any room for doubt in this matter, and I must make my ruling. Indeed, there is only one logical conclusion. That the pathetic rookie slumped over... What did I say? That the pathetic rookie slumped over there, over the bench before us, is the only possible perpetrator at this crime. No. Just when I thought I was beginning to turn things around. I'm in a worse situation than I was at the start. Kazuma? I'm sorry, Rinosuke. Now that the cross-examination of the witness is over, there's no way to force the trial to continue. What? You mean this is it? Shut up. I must say you put up quite a fight for a rookie student, but the weaker meet, while the strong eat. You are wasting your time. There's no way to defeat true justice. The fact you can chew on to your heart's content from the inside of your cell. This can't be happening. Am I really going to be found guilty of a crime I didn't commit? And Kazuma, his dream of going to study in Great Britain will slip through his fingers. Kazuma, what? Is there really no chance of turning this trial around? You heard the judge. There's nothing about the last photograph the detective produced that we can contest. Which means there's no basis on which we can argue for the trial to continue. Very well. I will now proceed immediately to the ruling. It seems we'll be able to report to the British government on time after all. That smug little Rinosuke Naruhodo. Having considered all of the evidence placed before me. Wait, Your Excellency. Rinosuke. I don't think you can rule on this case yet.
Objection!
This amateurist is getting tedious. When His Excellency deems the trial is over, he gives his ruling. That is the most basic protocol of the courtroom.
Yes.
Your Excellency, just a moment ago you said this. As the photographic print you just submitted to has no further significance, there's no longer any room for doubt in this matter, and I must make my ruling. Now this means that there was a problem with the evidence, some significant detail I mean. And then ruling in the case at this time would be out of the question.
Objection!
What is this blatant straw clutching? Look at this photographic print. All it shows was the handbag the gentleman was carrying on the day in question. There can be no problem with this evidence. You better know what you're doing, Rinosuke. I understand your objection, counsel. Certainly, the new evidence submitted by the detective has not overgone the court's scrutiny. However, I fail to see how we can glean any new information from this handbag. Ha! My thoughts exactly. Really, the prosecution is becoming tired of this rookie's desperate wheezes. Yes, I am desperate that this isn't a wheeze. There's something about this photograph which just doesn't seem right. If only I could put my finger on it. Very well. I will grant the defense one final opportunity. What? But be warned that if I am unsatisfied by your response here, the trial will be over with immediate effect. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Your Excellency. So, take another look at the photographic print Inspector Hosonoga submitted before. You will identify for the court where in this print we see the significant detail to which you have alluded. It has to be this thing on the wrist.
Yes.
Look at this here. There's a very unusual mark on the victim's wrist. That is true. Looks almost like a burn of some description.
Objection!
Dear me, I was pondering what new piffle you would come out with. A burn, you say, on the victim's wrist? Clear that has nothing to do whatsoever with the magnificent lady's handbag. Yes, that is a burn mark, you're right. Go on, Inspector. The police coroner also noticed that when he was performing the post-mortem examination, it was deemed unrelated to the cause of death, so he didn't note it in his report. What did I tell you? In any case, we have no idea when the victim suffered this burn, do we? And no possible way of knowing either. The more I look at it, the more I find myself intrigued by the curious shape of this mark. However, as Prosecutor Ouchi points out, unless a firm connection into this case can be shown, I cannot allow any further time to be spent on the precise details of this burn. Alright, so we have to match the burn to some evidence, I guess? Excuse me, Your Excellency. It would seem Miss Brett has a lunch appointment with the Dean and other university staff. She would like to know if she may be excused from the stand now. Oh, of course, dear lady. We shan't hold you up longer. I'm quite sure His Excellency about to give his final ruling anyway. What's your thinking on this, Rinosuke? Do you believe this burn has something to do with the case? To be honest, I'm not really sure. If I don't keep pushing, then it's all over. So I was thinking I should keep digging and digging, and hope that I might uncover something useful. Yes, you're right. I am? If we can just link that burn to the case, if we can do that, we might be able to prise this shutting the door back open again. Just give up, Council. You possibly can't do that. Indeed, I'm afraid that without evidence, I can't allow you to pursue what is little more than conjecture. But if we had evidence that irrefutably linked the burn on the victim's wrist to the case, then you would allow it. I would, yes. To tell the truth, I hadn't noticed that burn. But as soon as he pointed it out, what I did notice was the color draining from Miss Brett's face. Really? I have to find some link between that burn and the case. This is the moment of truth. It's time to find some evidence that proves that what the burn really means. So then the defense will now present its evidence to the court. This evidence that demonstrates an inextricable connection between the victim's burn and this trial. Alright, here, let me examine this because I want to see that again. So, almost looks like an upside down pool in a way. Alright, so I need to look. Oh, I see it! On the plate! That's what it was. Let's go.
Yes!
What's this, Council? Yet another print? Yes, Your Excellency. I believe photographic prints are an amazing invention. When we humans look at the scene, we miss things. But in a photograph, things we may have overlooked at the time are recorded forevermore. Do hurry up, Rookie. What are you trying to say? To inconvenience the... I don't even know what that word is either. This poor lady any further would really be quite inexcusable. Oh, inconvene. Ah, stupid me. Actually, you may need to stay with us a little longer if you don't mind, Miss Brett. You see, it's clearly visible in this other photograph. How did the victim come to have that unusually shaped burn on his wrist? The reason here is recorded forevermore. What? How?
Objection!
You can't fool me with your bluffs, boy. If that's your game, then let's see how it plays out. Show the court exactly what you mean. What is it in this photograph that explains the reason for the victim's burn? Well, it's obviously this mark here.
Yes!
The beefsteak? Actually, the point is the metal plate the steak was served on. The plate? Ah! Your Excellency, are you alright? As you can see, there's an emblem on the plate. I would guess it's some sort of trademark of La Carnival. Ah! This emblem on the plate. And the victim's burn are exactly the same shape. Ah! Rinosuke, you genius! You're spot on. Which means the victim must have suffered this burn while he was present at the restaurant.
Objection!
But even if that is the case, you can't know what happened on the day in question or not. It could have been the day before, or the day before that. It most likely happened at some other unrelated time. Well,
Objection!
sadly, Prosecutor Algae, the chances of that are extremely slim. Thanks. Why? The outline of the burn is clearly discernible. Such a serious injury would have caused quite the commotion in the restaurant. Wouldn't you agree, Inspector Osanoga? Can't imagine getting amid such a terrible disaster, certainly. But... I would say, looking at the picture of the wound, that it wasn't suffered very long ago. And although it's not a particularly large burn, it's extremely well defined, as the defense just pointed out. This was no mild burn, that's for sure. Can you be more specific, Inspector? Well, let's see. The plate was around 90 degrees centigrade. A burn like that would have taken around 3 seconds. It's inconceivable that the victim wouldn't have let out a scream of pain then. I've been investigating at the restaurant for several weeks already, but I've not heard anyone scream at all. As the head waiter of La Carnival, I can testify to that without hesitation. But you're a detective, you're not a waiter!
Yes!
There you have it, something isn't right here. As the detective said, anyone who burnt themselves on a piping hot plate for a whole 3 seconds would scream in pain. There's no question of that. And yet Inspector Osanoga never heard the professor scream, not on that day or any before it. That's right, and the strange thing is, on the day he was shot, I didn't hear him cry out either. What are you suggesting? Well, if the professor had carelessly laid his wrist on the plate for anything like 3 seconds that day, that would be beyond careless, I think, Counsel. And the rest of us in the restaurant, myself, the sergeant, and the old antiques dealer, all of us would have, without question, have heard him scream. Wouldn't you agree, Prosecutor Ouchie? Well, yes, I suppose. So the question is, why didn't a single person hear Dr. Wilson scream? I almost don't believe it. Rinosuke, do you think? Can it really be true? I never dreamt we'd arrive at a conclusion like this, but I'm starting to think what that may be. We've been led into a terrible trap. There's only one explanation that I can think of that makes sense of this apparent impossibility. On the day in question, when he suffered the burn to his wrist, Dr. Wilson was already deceased. No man could remain silent while his wrist was burning in a piping hot plate for a whole 3 seconds. That's clearly impossible, apart from in one particular situation. Counsel, are you suggesting? Yes, it's only possible. The man was already dead. Already? Dead? Knowing what we know now is the only possible explanation. When the beefsteak was brought to Dr. Wilson's table that day, the professor was already dead. That's madness. Order, please. The council explain this absurd notion at once. The victim was killed by a gunshot. That's right, that's absolutely right, Your Excellency. This is just another ridiculous ploy by the rookie student, but clearly has no grasp on the facts.
Objection!
No, Professor Ouchie, it's you who has no grasp of the facts. I beg your pardon? As soon as it became apparent that the victim had suffered that burn while at the restaurant, this whole case has turned upside down. Or have you not grasped that yet? Your Excellency, the court must hear from this witness again. If it's true, as we now believe, that the victim was already dead before the gunshot was heard, it's highly likely that Miss Brett knows something about it. Incredible. I certainly didn't anticipate this twist of events. I'm sorry to say, Miss Brett, but you'll have to forget your luncheon engagement. But, Your Excellency, the justice system in our country may be in its infancy, but rest assured, all reasonable doubt must be dispelled before I'm prepared to pass judgment. Thank you, Your Excellency. What was that smile? Yes, of course. I mean, I'd be delighted to help. Especially if it helps relations between my country and yours. Miss Brett, you speak Japanese? Well, of course I do. I'm studying in your country after all. But then, why have you been speaking through an interpreter until now? My mother tongue, the Queen's English, is the most refined and elegant language in the world. As a gentleman, I try to avoid speaking in your vulgar tones as much as possible. But it seems the men in this land possess none of the chivalrous virtues of English gentlemen, so I can see that I have to lower myself to communicating with you on your own level. Oh, well, you are the epitome of a true English gentlewoman. We are truly honored by this, the lavish consideration you so graciously afford us. I see. In that case, Miss Brett, I will now ask you to testify in your own words about the events leading up to the death of the victim, Dr. Wilson. So we're finally going to hear our own words on the matter. Things are getting interesting, Reinosuke. But you see, that interesting thing is going to have to wait until the next episode. This video is also getting long now, so time to end it. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to check back again. Like and subscribe because it really helps a lot. And yeah, well, I'll upload this next part soon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.